Welcome in, everybody, to a LSU Sports Insider Women's Basketball NCAA Tournament Update. I am Zach Ewing, joined live from the Spokane Arena in Spokane, Washington. He is Reed Darcey, the LSU Women's Basketball beat writer for The Advocate. And we are, maybe 22 or so hours away from LSU versus UCLA in the Elite Eight, the Spokane 1 regional final. They're actually getting set to play games there today in the Spokane 2 region. Read here in I don't know, an hour or so. So there's action all weekend long there, but LSU and UCLA, the top overall seed in the tournament, with the Final Four on the line tomorrow.
Yes, we are about to get rolling, and I wasn't quite sure that we would make it to this point. I wasn't quite sure if LSU would get sent home early, but obviously they pulled out a very tight game against NC State, and I think that was a really impressive win for LSU. So it should be really interesting tomorrow against UCLA. There's no shortage of storylines here, so it should be fun.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Reed, you were on Deadline last night. Scott Rabelais and I had a post-game show, and everybody watching, you can check that out for some immediate reaction, showed some comments, and talked about that one a little bit. But I do want to dig into that one just to kind of put it to bed real quick. First, I want to let everybody know that these update videos are sponsored by Our Lady of the Lake Health. They are the official championship healthcare provider of LSU athletics. That was a tough one. I mean, there were times when it looked like LSU was kind of running away early in the game, and then early in the second half, just like they did against Florida State. NC State hung in tough. Not only hung in tough, but actually had the lead. I think had a 5-point lead with about 4 minutes left in the game. And LSU, as the Tigers have done all season, Reed, had to find a way in those last few minutes.
Yeah, I think this time it was two things. The first thing was the work that LSU did on the offensive glass. It was a similar story to what we saw in November when those two teams played, right? LSU just has a size advantage over NC State. NC State plays 4 or 5 out. They play 4 guards in their top lineup. And so LSU was always going to have a size advantage and it was always going to be able to get rebounds. And so that's LSU's bread and butter, and that's what they were able to do. And that really helped them survive a close game. The other thing was Michaela Williams down the stretch. LSU put the ball in her hands down the stretch of a tight fourth quarter, and she delivered. She and Samaya Smith combined to score the last 16 points for LSU. Michaela had the ball in her hands. She was facilitating, she was passing, she was setting up open teammates for shots, and she was scoring, right? She going into the last, I believe, 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, Michaela had maybe 10 points or so, and then she I think she had closer to 9. I think she had 9 points, and then she scored 10 in the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, really propelling LSU to win. So that was super impressive from her. We'd seen that at times throughout the season. If you remember the game against Kentucky, where she really came alive in the second half and willed LSU to a win. We've seen it at times this season, but it was the first time we really saw it in the NCAA tournament from her. And I think it's a sign of her maturation from her freshman year to her sophomore year.
Yeah, she was the star. She was one of the stars. Anissa Morrow, obviously, with 30 points and 19 rebounds, another one that just must be mentioned. She dominated that game. Samaya Smith played well. Kaylin Gilbert played well off the bench. And LSU needed every bit of that because their star coming into the season, who everybody thought would be their best player, and is still a very good player, obviously, but I'm talking about Flau'jae Johnson, of course, had to leave the game. First of all, she was struggling anyway last night. She was 1 of 8 from the floor. I think only scored 3 points. But she had to leave the game in the fourth quarter after getting inadvertently kicked in the eye. Her eye was swelling up, and she could not get back in the game. How is she doing, Reed? What is the update on Flau'jae and what her possibilities are for tomorrow?
Yeah, we talked to Flau'jae today, and she said she's doing great. She just got poked in the eye at some point in the fourth quarter of last night's game, and she tried to go back into the game, but she said she was seeing double. She had double vision, so she couldn't quite actually do it. And I think LSU was playing pretty well without her, so it was able to survive those minutes. So all signs are that she's good to go. She came to the press conference today, and she was her usual energetic, upbeat, positive self. So it seems like she's put that performance behind her, and she's ready to get rolling against UCLA. She always gets up for these kinds of matchups. So I think she'll especially be ready for one after such an uncharacteristically poor shooting performance from her, right? Only 3 points on 1 of 8 shooting. We hadn't seen that at all from her this year. So I think she'll be rearing to go for tomorrow, because all signs point to her being back and being ready to go. We'll see exactly how her shin holds up. I'm not exactly sure if that might have had anything to do with how she played last night. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. But all signs are that she's ready to go and she'll be out there.
That's good news. So let's break down this matchup with UCLA. You mentioned that LSU had a size advantage on NC State. That will not be the case against Lauren Betts and UCLA. Lauren Betts, 6'7". Sometimes you see her listed at 6'6". Skilled player, player of the year candidate, averages 20.1 points per game, 9.7 rebounds per game, 2.9 blocks per game. She shoots 65% from the floor. She is just one of those traditional inside players, post players who is a handful for anybody to deal with. And UCLA will absolutely play through Lauren Betts.
And she is a different player than she was last year. If you remember when LSU played UCLA in the Sweet 16, she was really good. She was an All-American, but I think she really took her game to the next level this year. Last night against Ole Miss, she had 31 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks, I believe. She shot 15 of 16 from the floor. She's really taken her game to the next level, which means that both this LSU team and both this UCLA team are really different teams than they were a year ago. LSU had Angel Reese to defend Lauren Betts. Now it doesn't have Angel Reese to defend a scarier version of Lauren Betts. So it's going to be quite a challenge for LSU. The key here, I think, is Samaya Smith, right? Samaya Smith is the tallest, longest defender that LSU has to put on Betts. And so she's going to have to be disciplined. She can't get in foul trouble, right? If she gets in foul trouble, picks up 2 early fouls, and has to leave the game in the first half, then LSU is going to have a real tough time trying to stop Lauren Betts, because then your best option there would be to either put Anissa Morrow on her, who's operating at a pretty severe size disadvantage, or Jersey Wolfenbarger, who we haven't seen too much of in the tournament. So Samaya Smith has been huge this tournament, especially the last 2 games. I think LSU is going to need probably even more from her tomorrow against Lauren Betts on the defensive end of the floor. The key for her will be staying out of foul trouble.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Samaya Smith has been huge so far in this tournament and probably needs to take it to even another level, at least defensively, tomorrow. Outside of that, LSU's got the big 3. Anissa Morrow, Flau'jae Johnson, Michaela Williams, all average more than 31 minutes a game, all average more than 17 points a game. You got your double-double machine in Anissa Morrow. You have your sharpshooters in Flau'jae and Michaela. UCLA is a little bit different, except for Lauren Betts. And I guess you could throw Kiki Rice in this conversation. She's kind of the outside lightning to Lauren Betts' inside thunder. She averages 13.1 points per game, 5 assists per game, shoots 37% from 3-point range. I mean, she's their best guard, but they have 8 players, Reed, who average between 12 and 28 minutes. And that includes Kiki Rice. They come at you in waves, both in the paint outside of Lauren Betts, who's the mainstay, and on the perimeter. And so that's going to be a challenge for LSU because just depth-wise, you're talking about a team that, can kind of make these mass substitutions and does make these mass substitutions and gets fresh legs out there and just has a lot of skilled players.
They have extra size, too, off the bench. We talk about LSU's size off the bench. UCLA has it, too. Janiyah Barker comes off the bench for them, and she's a really tough, physical 6'4" post player who played in the SEC before. So she's an incredible challenge as well. Not only Lauren Betts, once she's goes off the floor, LSU's going to have to contend with another big-time post player in Janiyah Barker. So, yeah, they are a well-balanced team. They're the number 1 overall seed for a reason. It's not just because of Lauren Betts. They have a lot of contributors. Now, if you look at that game against Ole Miss, the game plan was really to get it to Betts and really make Ole Miss stop it, right? Force Ole Miss to figure it out, and if they couldn't, just keep feeding it to Betts. That game plan worked, obviously. We'll see if they stick with it against LSU or if LSU has some kind of answer. Maybe it tries to push her outside the restricted area. Maybe it tries to get her some high post touches, right? Because she's at her most dangerous when she's around the rim. So maybe if LSU can do that, then they can get the ball out of Lauren Betts' hands and force some of UCLA's other guards and other scorers to beat them. I think that's probably their best bet of winning. But again, it all starts with defending Betts and then making sure she doesn't get going.
Yeah, no doubt. Anything you mentioned how Betts has progressed as a player from last year, but is there anything LSU can take away from that victory in the Sweet 16 over UCLA a year ago that may play into this one?
She didn't shoot it very efficiently. From what I remember, I believe she was only 4 of 14 or 4 of 15 from the field. Angel Reese did a really good job on her. And so I think if you're Samaya Smith, the player who's going to be guarding her most amount of time. She can probably look back at last year's film and watch how Angel Reese defended her and see what she can apply from that, what she can take from that. Angel was such a good defender. She was so physical, right? And she was so strong, right? And she had all that length that she could use to contend with other post players on the defensive end of the floor. She could also go out on the perimeter, right? And disrupt opposing passing lanes. Samaya doesn't have that, right? She's not quite as strong as Angel was, and she's not the defender that Angel was. But through 2 games, she's certainly playing like one of the best post players in the tournament so far, right? She's gone 20 points and 10 rebounds in back-to-back games after doing so only once in her first 76 career games. I think she's really finding her stride. She's really trying to reclaim that form that she had before she got injured last year, before she tore her knee up. So it's going to be really important for her to be locked in defensively and like I said, avoid foul trouble, because she's their best bet. Their best bet against Betts. She really can use her length and her physicality to disrupt her. But again, she has to be disciplined.
I see what you did there. Best bet against Betts. I'm sure that's.
I didn't do that intentionally. I was just stumbling over my words.
You got to own that. Come on. No, obviously betting on Betts has been a good bet. How about that? So far in the tournament, she went for 30 points and 14 rebounds in the second round against Richmond. She went for 31 points and 10 rebounds in the Sweet 16 against Ole Miss. In both of those games, by the way, UCLA kind of struggled in the first half. And even going back to their first round game against Southern, which they ended up winning by 38 points, 84-46. It was like a 10-point game at halftime, a 9-10-point game at halftime. Like UCLA, kind of a second half team. They've started slow. Now, having said that, they are 33-2. They have wins over South Carolina way back in November. Also NCAA tournament teams like Nebraska, Michigan, Baylor, Maryland, who is a Sweet 16 team that beat Ohio State twice. Their 2 losses are both to USC. Now they then turned around and beat USC in the Big Ten Conference Championship game. But both losses to USC, and in both games, USC's star guard Juju Watkins went for 30-plus points in both of those USC victories. And Juju Watkins, of course, who unfortunately had the ACL injury and won't be able to play for the Trojans tonight. But she kind of had to put USC on her back to outlast UCLA. Is that something you think we need to see a Michaela Williams do tomorrow offensively, or a Flau'jae Johnson, or whoever it is? Do we need to see one of those standout individual performances to carry the Tigers offensively?
Sure. I think Flau'jae really needs to step up, because Samaya and Anissa Moro are going to be contending down low with UCLA's size and physicality, and that's a real tough challenge for them. They're going to be I would imagine trying to wrestle with the rebounding battle and really going to preoccupied with that. So that leaves more scoring responsibilities for the LSU guards. And we've seen Michaela Williams take up that slack in 2 tournament games now. Flau'jae didn't bring it last night, and I think she's ready to provide it. I saw a clip of her, I think it was on her podcast or so. I saw a clip of her, saying how she wants to really go against UCLA and go up in those matchups against UCLA, because Betts was ranked ahead of her in her class, right? Betts is a junior, so I think she's extra motivated for these kinds of matchups. She doesn't need extra motivation, but because of her performance last night, I think it adds an extra edge to her.
Let's end there, Reed. Let's talk about the attitude of this LSU team. They're not underdogs often. It's only happened a couple of times this year, and actually LSU has lost usually when they have been underdogs. I think they won as an underdog at Tennessee. Maybe the first game of the NC State game back in November, they were an underdog and they won those, but they lost to South Carolina. They lost both games to Texas. They are 4.5-point underdogs against UCLA on Sunday afternoon. It's a 2:00 tip-off. How is this team treating that? I mean, is it kind of a nothing to lose, let's go out there? I mean, Rab and I talked last night. Like, I think there's definitely more pressure on UCLA in this matchup. You're talking about a program that's never been to the Final Four. LSU is here in this position basically every year under Kim Mulkey, at least the last 3 years. Do you see that kind of looseness that comes with being an underdog and knowing the pressures on UCLA, or what is their mindset?
They're loose for sure. If you watch the press conference today, Flau'jae and Michaela and Anissa loose is a perfect word to describe them. They were joking with each other. They were laughing. They were smiling. They were having a good time. They were really themselves, right? And I felt like they were in a really good mindset. I think LSU is exactly where they want to be. Kim Mulkey has been a 3 seed at LSU in 4 straight years now. In 2023, they won the championship as a 3 seed, and that's the path that they can take now. I don't think that Kim Mulkey, I don't think it really bothers her whether LSU's a 2 seed or a 3 seed or not. I think she's perfectly content with being a 3 seed and going through a region trying to knock off a 1 seed. UCLA is the overall number 1 seed, overall number 1 national seed, but I think LSU views themselves on the same level as UCLA, and I think they really think they can have a shot at an upset here, especially because they met in the Sweet 16 and they won.
Yep. He is Reed Darcey. He is live from Spokane, and he will be there tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock when LSU and UCLA tip off. The SEC's got 2 teams in the Elite Eight in LSU and South Carolina. They're guaranteed a third because Tennessee is playing Texas right now in the Sweet 16. And then Oklahoma tips off there in Spokane in about 45 minutes. They will have a chance against UConn to become the 4th. The winner of UCLA LSU will go to Tampa for the Final Four to face the winner of that region that's playing tonight, Oklahoma, UConn, Kansas State, and USC. So that's the bracket. We will follow it every step of the way. You can check Reed out at theadvocate.com/LSU sports. Subscribe right now to the LSU Tigers at NOLA.com YouTube channel and sign up for notifications. That way you will know when we go live for the post-game show tomorrow. Win or lose, we'll be there. And Reed, you will be in Spokane covering the whole thing.
Yep, having fun, enjoying the scenery.
All right, he's Reed. I'm Zach. Our thanks to Our Lady of the Lake Health. They are the championship healthcare provider for LSU athletics, and we are the LSU Insider. We'll see you next time.